This video is sponsored by Sakurako. Alright, so we got the 375 spoilers and the big moment that we've been waiting for, or at least one of the big moments that we've been waiting for. Something that has been foreshadowed before the war even started is finally happening in this chapter, and it's pretty exciting. But before we go over that, let me just quickly go over what had happened in the previous chapter. So we saw that Spinner was successfully able to reactivate Kurogiri by placing one of Shigaraki's burnt Nana hands on his face, because of course, All For One had a contingency for this, as he always does, because he said that to help Kurogiri take immediate action, he planted a micro device in one of Shimura's hands, and this was able to activate Kurogiri, and he immediately activated his Warp Gate quirk and seemingly brought himself along with Present Mike to like where Aizawa, Monoma, and Manuel were inside of UA. But we're not touching on that group. We're touching on the other group actually, because he also transports Dabi and Toga to where All For One, Endeavor, and Hawks are. But we saw that Toga had become twice, because it's implied that she ingested his blood. And that brings us to the beginning of this chapter, where it's actually a flashback of Uraraka, Tsuyu, and the other heroes fighting Toga on Okuto Island. Deducing that Toga's hiding technique uses some kind of misdirection, they concluded that it would be difficult for her to use it against multiple people at once. That's why they are always attacking her in groups of at least 4 heroes. Meanwhile, Gang Orca realizes that the Nomu doesn't have a regeneration quirk and asks other heroes to attack the monster. Now they have defeated almost all the villains that were on the island. So yeah, we're coming back to the Toga versus Uraraka and Tsuyu fight. We haven't been here for a very long time. We didn't get an update on what was happening here until the end of the previous chapter, where we saw, Toga showing up as twice. Now we're getting the connective tissue to that sequence. Hey, also guys, if you like my Hero coverage, please subscribe if you haven't already. We have at least 1 or 2 more spoilers and chapters coming out this month, so I go over them as soon as they come out, so if you're interested in that, subscribe. Thanks, guys. Toga realizes that her situation is bad and considers using twice his blood, but she figures that with how little she has, she should only be able to make 30 to 40 clones. If she transforms now, the heroes will fight back and the Sad Man's Parade will die on this island. So this is something that makes sense. We saw that she did have a little bit of twice his blood, but she usually only has a little bit of blood in general when she uses this ability, but this also kind of conflicts with what's going to happen later on, but maybe it'll just make more sense once we get the full chapter, but I'll come back to this. She wonders if Makia will wake up, but even if he did, it would be difficult for him to get there. She wonders if the heroes knew about Jin's blood, and if that's why they sent her to an island. Seeing that there are no other options, she decides to believe in Spinner. So I like that she's bringing up Makia here, because I guess this means that he is going to wake up. We saw that, he's still being imprisoned, of course, coming off the previous war, but there's also a group of heroes. I think that's where Kirishima and Ashido are, which makes sense because he's set up to be like their final big bad opponent, right? But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Sakurako. Sakurako is a monthly Japanese snack subscription box. You'll receive 20 traditional and authentic artisan Japanese snacks, including Japanese tea and 1 special Japanese tableware with your box every month. Sakurako helps in partnering with local Japanese snack makers to continue to share Japanese culture and traditions that have been passed down for over 100 years. They also come with these great little booklets that give you information on all of the snacks and items in the box, along with information on Japan itself. This month, Sakurako is partnering with the Tochigi local government, a Japanese prefecture that is famous for its breathtaking mountains and waterfalls. They'd like to invite you to try Tochigi's local delicacies, like Tochigi Lemon Yokon and Tochigi's specialty sweet Strawberry Tiramisu Biscuit. All snacks pair well with the special sencha tea. This month's kitchenware is furoshiki, a wrapping cloth. The technique began in 710 BC, but in the present day, furoshiki cloth can be used to wrap gifts, bento boxes, books, and even bottles. That's fantastic. It's like really floral green tea. I'm gonna try it with these Anko donuts that are filled with red bean paste. Wow, that's fantastic. Let's try these wasabi mayo peanuts. Oh man, this is such a great snack. I wish I had a box full of these. So guys, if you're interested in getting your very own Sakurako box this holiday season, which makes an awesome gift for your family or friends, or even for yourself, check out the link in the description and make sure you use code Zhoniin, because you're going to get $5 off your very first box. And also guys, you're going to get a chance to experience Japan in person, because they're giving away a free ticket to Japan. Check the links below the video. But we were wondering, like, is he going to wake up? Is he going to be a part of the final war? And I guess he kind of has to, right? It would be anticlimactic if he wasn't. And him being being mentioned here by Toga means that he essentially is going to wake up, because she's kind of reminding the audience as well that he's a thing. But another really cool thing is that what if she clones him using Twice's ability? And I'm not gonna get my hopes up, because that would just be too incredible, right? Too fantastic. And I don't think Horikoshi is going to get that crazy fantastic with the ending here, even though he should just pull out all the stops, just do all the craziness and make the ending really super fantastical. Why not? But I just don't expect him to do that, although it would be really cool. But also at the same time, it would just be a little too powerful, right? Because just one Gigantomachia was enough to nearly take on everyone. I mean, he wasn't unstoppable, like they eventually were able to hold him down, but you know, just multiple of him would just be way too much. That's when she picks up the vial and looks like she's going to drink it, but Tsuyu is waiting for this moment. She figures it's all for one or Shigaraki's blood and destroys the vial with her tongue, but Toga was prepared for that because she knows Sue is a calculating person. That wasn't blood, it was a drug given to her by All For One. Of course it was. That attracts the high ends. The Nomu then goes to attack Tsuyu because the drug is still on her tongue and it causes a big wave. Then Ochako goes to see what's happening and she finds two Tsuyus. So yeah, decoy vial with Nomu attractant, which, I don't know, maybe it would be simpler to put acid in there or something. That's besides the point. She successfully is protecting Jin's blood, of course. I mean, we already knew that she was going to activate it because we saw at the end of the previous chapter she becomes Twice. But also she's getting Tsuyu's blood in this sequence, I guess from the broken vial, because she's becoming her. One of them takes the vial out of her mouth and immediately turns into Twice and starts making clones. That's when Kurogiri appears and says that he has been given a mission to save Shigaraki and the others. He asks what Toga wants to do, and she says that she wants to eliminate all the heroes, starting with Hawks. Uraraka tries to enter the portal, but the Twice clones rip her wire apart. She then says that they haven't been able to talk about love like Toga wanted. It's funny, like Uraraka at the last second trying to gaslight Toga, like, oh hey, I actually do want to talk about love. Let's do that. Remember you wanted to do that? Let's not fight anymore. Let's just talk about love. Toga seems to hesitate, but responds with how great it would be if we could. Cut to Gunga. Hawks immediately understands that this is Toga's doing. Dabi burns the forest down, and Toga starts the Sad Man's Parade, making hundreds of clones. So yeah, this is the big moment. It's finally happening. The new Sad Man's Parade. Like I said, this was foreshadowed before the war even started. But this is also interesting because it goes back to what I said was being mentioned in the beginning of the chapter, how she only has enough of Twice's blood to make 30 or 40 clones. So did she mean like at base, like just make 30 or 40 and then they would have to do the Sandman's Parade and then they could potentially be defeated before that would happen? But it's almost kind of instantaneous when it happens. So I'm just confused by that statement and her just eventually making hundreds of clones anyway. But it doesn't really matter. It's happening here and it's necessary because we need this to happen. We need all of this chaos and essentially more bodies for people to fight against too, right? And I also like that Dabi's just burning down the forest, just making a clear battlefield, which simplifies everything. Kinoko says that all seems lost, but then we see that Tsuyu managed to launch Uraraka with her tongue in time and she passed through the portal. Now Dabi, Endeavor, Uraraka, All For One, Toga / Twice, and Hawks are in the same place. End of chapter. The final panel is actually a flashback from the previous chapter, with the weather reporter Merrill talking about the butterfly effect. It is meant to imply that this is the culmination of several consequences of previous events. Yeah, we're going into this final battle, or at least this is building up to be a true final battle, because now we're getting more pieces on the board together, which we kind of assumed was eventually going to happen. You know, spread them all apart for them to all eventually come back together. And now we have, you know, Endeavor, Uraraka, and Hawks taking on Toga, who is Twice, All For One, and Dabi, which is a very lopsided battle here. Like, the villain side is way more powerful than the heroes here, but something is eventually going to happen. Let me know what you thought about these spoilers in the comments, guys, and if you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.